What does make a good driver?
And now it's medium left again. Barrel. I put sideways underway first gear, and changing second gear, changing third gear, and now it's coming long right-hand corner. Put its car a little bit sideways, and full power, second gear, jump, up, and third gear, brow, jump, jump.
Rally driver Timo Mäkinen in action. We can't all be that good, but some of us are a bit worse than others. So you think you're a good driver? We last asked this question 3 years ago, and since then there have been changes. New motorways, more and larger vehicles, new signs, with our roads already the most crowded in the world. 1 million new drivers each year. But in another direction, no change. Drivers still kill and injure themselves and others in accidents caused by selfishness and bad judgment. We're always saying it's the other fella. But how good a driver are you? Well, now's your chance to find out. All you need is this form on page 36 of the Radio Times, or any piece of paper and a pencil. To give you an idea how well you've been doing, we have 2 teams who will be doing the quiz in the studio. 3 good drivers and 3, well, not exactly bad drivers, but those unlucky enough to have been found out. First of all, our good drivers, and our Lorry-Driver of the Year, Lloyd Richards, who comes from Cornwall. You do about how many miles a year, do you think?
Around about 30,000.
That's quite a lot. Do you do much motorway driving down in St Austell?
Very little.
Very little. Well, we're going to test your motorway driving. Mrs Foley, do you do any motorway driving much?
Yes, I do. We're coming up down to London from Herefordshire and going up to Cheshire.
How many miles do you think you drive in a year?
Roughly about 7,000 or 8,000.
And how long have you been driving?
About 14 years.
Well, there's our Lady Driver of the Year, Chris Sclater, our rally driver, the Claver Wheelbase Scholarship winner, and off to where tomorrow morning?
Off to Athens, Greece, tomorrow.
To drive in?
In the Acropolis rally.
How far do you reckon you drive a year?
Somewhere between 50 and 70,000 miles.
So you get a lot of miles under your car, don't you?
Yeah.
And now to our bad drivers. Mr Manning, what have you been done by the police?
For speeding, just normal speeding.
What do you mean by normal speed? How fast?
About 42, 43 miles an hour.
In a 40-mile-an-hour limit or 30?
Yeah.
How many of these have you got on your licence at the moment?
Now, 1.
1. Barbara Murray, what were you done for?
Same thing, speeding.
Where?
Regent's Park.
Do you think
About 17 years ago, I'm here to say.
Are you a fast driver?
Not now, no.
A good
Not
driver?
anymore. I hope so, but medium.
Sterling Moss, have you got your licence?
Yes, I have at the moment, yes.
Ah.
Yes, thank you.
How many times have you been done in the past 2-3 years?
All told, I have been caught 4 times. I have my licence at the moment. I did have the totting up and lost my licence because of that.
But at the moment you're driving?
At the moment I'm driving, yes.
Right, those are our teams. Now for the questions. If you're going on holiday by car this summer, you're almost certain to use a motorway. Our first section, 10 questions, is about driving on motorways, and we start with motorway signs. They're there for your safety, but they can only work if you're sure you'll know what they mean. So our first question, which of these 2 signs means move into the lane on your left? Is it A or is it B? You have 5 seconds to answer. B is the right answer. 1 point for B. But for question 2, what does the other sign mean? 5 seconds to write down your answer. What does the other sign mean? It means leave the motorway at the next available exit, so if you wrote leave the motorway or take the next exit, you're right. 1 point. And still on signs, question 3. What does this sign mean? 5 seconds. It means the road ahead is clear. So much for the signs. Now you're in the driver's seat of the white car, travelling at 60 miles an hour in the middle lane of the motorway. And there's a car transporter in the left-hand lane, which you overtake. The motorway is empty ahead, except for a distant lorry. Question 4. You should remain in the middle lane because the left-hand lane is reserved for slow traffic. True or false? The answer is false. You should keep to the left-hand lane except when you're overtaking. 1 point for false. You're still travelling at 60, and the distance between you and that lorry you were following is 150 feet. There's traffic passing you in the middle lane. If the lorry should suddenly stop dead, what would happen? Question 5. Are you A, too close to the lorry to avoid hitting it, or B, have you plenty of space to stop in time, or C, have you just enough space according to the highway code? 5 seconds. The answer is A, you are too close. The minimum stopping distance at 60 miles an hour in good weather on dry roads is 240 feet according to the highway code. Varying your speed is one way to overcome the problem of the sheer monotony of motorway driving. The fact that the roads are so good, just the same for mile after mile, can make you feel sleepy. If this happens, what should you do? For question number 6, if you start to feel drowsy when you're on the motorway, you should pull over onto the hard shoulder and stop. True or false? The answer is false. The best thing to do is to open a window to give yourself plenty of fresh air, turn off the heater and keep on driving. It's an offence to stop on the hard shoulder except in an emergency, and you risk prosecution if you do. In very exceptional circumstances, you might get away with it, but the law does not regard the hard shoulder as a place for sleepy motorists to have a nap, and if you use it in that way, you could be in trouble. The right thing to do is to keep going and take the first opportunity of leaving the motorway, either at a service station where you can get out and stretch your legs, or at the next motorway exit if that comes up first, where you can find a lay-by and stop safely for a rest. Of course, the best thing to do is not to start your journey at all if you're feeling tired. Hitchhikers like this one are often on the roads in summer, and as you come back onto the motorway, he's waiting on the slip road, hoping you'll pick him up and take him further on his journey. Question 7. If you stop for a hitchhiker on a motorway, who, if anyone, is breaking the law? A, you, B, the hitchhiker, C, both, D, neither. The answer is C, both. You, because you may only stop in an emergency, and the hitchhiker, because pedestrians are not allowed on motorways. So come on, bring him back. Our last 3 questions of this section are about more dangerous situations. Skidding on a motorway or indeed any road can be a frightening experience, and worse if you don't know what to do. One way of finding out is to drive on a skid pan. Suppose you do get into a skid, could you get out of it? Question 8. The best way to get out of a skid is to brake gently. True or false? The answer is false. The best way is to decelerate. You should not touch your brakes until you have corrected the skid. 1 point. On the motorway, another car skidding might lead to this situation. A car out of control has crossed the central reservation. You brake, but if you keep straight on, a collision is inevitable. What do? Question 9. For your best chance of avoiding a crash, you should steer A, left, or B, right. The answer is B, right, the line to take you away from crossing his path. Let's see that again. You were both lucky, not least that the motorway was empty. Finally, fog on the motorway. Despite the fact that motorways are the safest roads in the country in good weather, in bad weather, they're not. Multiple crashes have been the worst feature of the past few years. This was the scene on the M1 on Thursday, the 16th of March, 1972. Over 100 vehicles involved, 9 people dead, and more than 30 injured. Although fog, rain or snow contribute, the basic reason for the results of so-called motorway madness is driving too fast for the conditions. Driving in fog is everybody's nightmare. Even if you slow down, other people may not. And you never know what may lie ahead. A crash on the motorway. All lanes are blocked. You're the first driver on the scene not actually involved in the crash. What should you do? Question 10. The first thing to do is A, to find and help the injured, B, get help, C, go back and warn other traffic. To find and help the injured would be most people's instinctive reaction, but one person can't give much help single-handed. Going back to warn traffic might be the right action on an ordinary road, but on a motorway on foot, you'd be in danger yourself. So the right answer is B, get expert help as fast as possible. But how? Put your headlights on high beam to light up the wreckage, and if you've got warning lights, put them on too. Leave your car and go along the hard shoulder to the nearest telephone marker post, going forward if there isn't one close to the scene. There will be a post within 110 yards, and it shows the direction and distance of the nearest emergency phone. Going forward, you will also see the extent of the crash and be able to give the police fuller details. The sooner the experts get there, the better. Every crash is different, and you must use your common sense. But the vital thing for the first driver at the scene is to get help. Well, how did you get on? If you got all 10 answers right, your scorecard should look like this. B, take next exit, road clear, false. A, false. C, false. B, B. Well, Bernard Manning, you must have come down the motorway many a time. How did you get on with the motorway driving bit?
9. The last one I got wrong when you said that your instinct would be to, you know, go and get help, and that would have been, you know.
Would it?
Yeah.
Now you know it isn't, though.
Yeah. I'd have been wrong.
Barbara, how did you get on?
5 I got.
Did you? What did you fall down on?
Oh, I fell down on the first one, and I got turn left. I got road clear.
So you didn't like the signs very much?
Not very much.
Could you cope with the skidding bit?
Yes.
You cope with that?
Yes, I got that one.
How'd you get on, Stirling?
Worse, I got 4. I let the side down.
Did you?
Yes, I don't know the signs.
Oh, the signs again?
Yeah, the signs, yeah. Except on the last one again, I put C.
Isn't it fun? Did you put C as well?
Yes, I did.
See, everyone got that wrong. Well, I hope everyone...
There's so much about this triangle, you see, isn't there?
Yeah.
In fact, on the film, that's what you did. You turned on, what I really meant was turn on the flashlights, which is the...
Yeah, I was thinking of the triangle too.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Well,
warning
the triangle that we
before-
always told
Yeah.
you should put out before you do anything, and that's what I was thinking would be the right thing on the
Yes.
motorway.
It looks as though a little education is necessary here when we get these major multiple shunts on the motorways. What else did you fall down on? The skidding bit you must have got right.
No, I got to brake gently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I think it's a degree of how gentle is gentle. You know, this is the point. I always believe, frankly, one should try and drop one's speed. I've had skids of higher speed maybe than they're thinking of. But so I fell on that one too.
Well, that's you. Now let's have a look at the scoreboard to see how it stands now. At the end of our first section, the good drivers get 24 points out of 30, and our bad drivers have dropped a dozen points on the first section. Our next section concerns driving on other roads. Accidents on motorways always seem more dramatic, leaving a lot of people with the impression that they are in fact more dangerous than our ordinary highways. But figures show that many more serious accidents occur on our congested all-purpose roads. On these roads, with their distractions, the driver has less time to manoeuvre and usually less time to act, actions that could spell the difference between life and death. This can mean the death of a pedestrian, and tragically, many are killed or injured just where they should be safe, at zebra crossings. In many parts of the country, new zigzag markings have been added to make these crossings safer. Question 1. It is advisable not to park within the zigzag markings, but it is not against the law. True or false? 5 seconds. The answer is false. An offender is liable to a fine of up to £50 and a licence endorsement, and this new regulation applies to both sides of the crossing, not just the approach as it used to. Now you're back in the driving seat of the white car, coming up to a zebra crossing, and a slower moving car is ahead of you. Question 2. If you overtake this car on the zigzag approach, you are committing an offence. True or false? The answer is true. You must not overtake the leading car inside the zigzag markings. It could mask a pedestrian about to cross, and again, it could mean a fine and an endorsement. Another fairly recent innovation is the pelican crossing, and not all drivers know exactly how they should be used. So, for question 3, you're coming up to a pelican crossing and the red light changes to flashing amber. You must wait to move forward until it turns green. True or false? The answer is false. You must make sure there is no pedestrian on the crossing, then you can move forward while the light is flashing amber. One of the most grim statistics is the number of children killed and injured on our roads. Almost half of all serious pedestrian casualties are children. Almost all these accidents to children happen in built-up areas where there's a speed limit, and the number of fatalities is increasing. Obviously, as a driver, you should always drive with extra care when there are children around. But do you know when they are most at risk? Question 4. Accidents involving children are most likely to happen as they go home from school. True or false? The answer is false. According to available figures, road accidents involving children happen more often after they have arrived home from school or during holidays. These are times when many children are not being supervised as they are on their way to and from school. Question 5. What does this sign mean? A small red arrow and a large black arrow. A bit longer this time to write down your answer. Time's up. It means you must give priority to vehicles coming from the opposite direction. And if a large lorry, like that, is coming the other way, it's as well to be sure about the sign. 1 point if you wrote give priority or give way to oncoming traffic. Misjudging bends is a cause of many road accidents. You're following another driver down this winding country road, doing about 35 miles an hour. A particularly sharp left-hand bend comes up. Let's see it again. The car comes up to the bend, takes it badly, and crosses over to the opposite side of the road, forcing the oncoming car to swerve. Obviously, to avoid doing the same thing, you'd slow down. But when and how? Question 6. To take this bend correctly, you should A. brake as you enter the bend and accelerate out. B. brake as you approach the bend, change down and accelerate out. C. change down as you enter and accelerate out. 5 seconds. A is wrong. If you brake as you enter the bend, you're braking too late. Accelerating is pointless because you're still in top gear and there's not enough power in the car to pick up speed. No points for A. C is wrong. In this case, you're using your gears to slow you down, but you're using them as you enter the bend. And again, that's too late. No points for C. The right answer is B. The correct way to take this bend is to brake on the straight before you enter the bend. At a lower speed, your tyres have a better grip, but you're in top gear and your speed has dropped. Third gear will give you a more stable car and better acceleration out of the bend. We're always talking about our changeable weather, so perhaps it's odd that we ignore it to a dangerous extent when we're driving. In the summer, roads are often subject to long, dry spells, but then, inevitably, rain falls. Question 7. After a long, dry spell, which makes the roads more dangerous? A. a light shower, or B. heavy rain? The answer is A. a light shower. Heavy rain can wash away all the grit, grease and dirt which has formed. Light showers only mix with the surface, forming potentially dangerous skid patches. One thing your safety depends on is the state of your tyres, and not least in weather conditions like these. But how much do you know about what they're actually doing? This car is travelling at 60 miles an hour in heavy rain. The car has good tyres, but in order to retain their grip on the road, each tyre will have to displace a given amount of water every second. Question 8. Is it A, 2 pints, B, 4 pints, or C, 8 pints? The answer is C, 8 pints. You can imagine the danger of driving at this speed on worn tyres which cannot disperse the water, even though they are just within the legal limits. With a lot of water on the road, there is always the danger of aquaplaning when even at low speeds, tyres can lose contact with the surface altogether. Next, turning right at crossroads. Turning right incorrectly is one of the most common causes of accidents on the road. The white car passes a crossroads sign on a country road. Not much traffic about. Speed 35 miles an hour. As the white car nears the crossroads, the driver signals a right turn. A van is approaching the junction from the opposite direction. He too intends to turn right. Watch what happens. Watch that again in slow motion and look carefully. In a moment, we're going to ask you to take action as the driver of the white car. Now you are driving the white car. Speed 35 miles an hour, remember. As you approach the crossroads, you signal right. The van arrives and stops, also signalling a right turn. Question 9. What is the best action to take to prevent that collision? Do you A, turn early, farther from the van, B, stop, signal van across front, C, slow, pass van before turning? A is wrong. You could not see the following car. You will be on the wrong side of the road into which you are turning right. B is wrong. It might save you, but it's not the best way because any traffic following you may pass on the inside and hit the van as it turns right. The correct answer is C. Let's see it in action. Pass offside to offside. This way you can see any oncoming vehicles and turn safely. 1 point for C2. Finally, parking at night. Last year, the regulations were changed, and now throughout the country, you can park without lights in an unlit or badly lit street, provided you are in an area with a speed limit of 30 miles an hour and provided you observe certain other rules. Question 10. In this street, in a built-up area, 3 car drivers have parked their cars for the night. Are any of these cars improperly parked under the new regulations? If so, which? Car A, parallel to the curb, facing forward. Car B, parallel to the curb, facing backwards. Or car C, nearest to the junction. Which, if any, of these cars is illegally parked? Car A, car B, car C, or more than one of them? Time's up. Car A is parked correctly with its near side parallel to the curb. Car B is parked incorrectly, parallel to the curb, but facing the wrong way. And car C is also illegally parked, facing in the right direction, but within 15 yards of a road junction. Give yourself 1 point if you spotted that B and C were both wrongly parked. And that brings us to the end of section 2. And if you got all the answers right, your scorecard should look like this. False, true, false, false, and then something like give priority or give way to oncoming traffic. B, A, C, C, and on question 10, B and C. Lloyd Richards, how did you do?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Good gracious me. How did you do, Mrs. Foley?
9 out of 10. I fell down on the school. Children crossing, they're supposed to be more at risk when they're not being shepherded to and from school.
Yes, when they're unsupervised
Yes,
is the point. When they're going home from school, there's nearly always someone looking after them.
Yes,
It's out of that period that
well,
the danger...
I put that as true. In fact, it was wrong.
Well, I have news for you. I know you're not on your own in having got that one wrong.
And also, I was only just lucky to put the 8 pints for the water in the wheels.
That was a surprise for
Yes.
you. Chris Sclater, how did you get on?
I was 9 as well. Number 3, the Pelican crossing. I've never really understood this, I'm afraid, before. I assumed that I've been doing it wrong all the time, so I put true.
We're pleased, Chris, to have put you right tonight. Let's now have a look at the scoreboard, see how they're doing. And the good drivers there with the high score again. 28 points takes them on to 52, and the bad drivers have got a leeway of some 14 points to make up if they want to get rid of that word bad in front. 38 is what they've got. And now to section 3, you and your car. What do you know about your car, and how well can you deal with minor emergencies? You're driving along a road and your radiator starts to boil. Obviously, you stop. Question 1. You should fill it up with A, cold water, B, warm water, C, neither. The answer is C, neither. If you added cold or warm water, you could crack the block. You should let it cool, try to find out what's wrong, and if necessary, top it up and go to the nearest garage to get it checked. Question 2. You're driving along and your front tyre bursts. Should you A, brake hard, B, brake gently, C, decelerate to a stop? Time's up. 1 point for C, decelerate to a stop. You should not brake hard or gently. This increases the risk of swerving. If any of your tyres do burst, you should hold the steering wheel firmly and let the car come to a safe stop. And now some of the cherished beliefs about cars. Question 3. Revving the engine at night immediately before you switch off will give you an easier start in the morning. True or false? The answer is false. It won't make it easier. In fact, what it can do is remove oil from the cylinder walls, which is bad for the engine. Question number 4. Dangling a chain from your vehicle will conduct static electricity to the ground. This will prevent car sickness. True or false? The answer is false. It may work psychologically, but there's no scientific connection between electricity and car sickness. Finally, question 5. Leaving antifreeze in your engine during the summer months is bad for the car. True or false? The answer is false. Most modern antifreeze contains elements which help reduce corrosion. Antifreeze will not affect your engine adversely during warm periods, but it can do it good. And some cars must have antifreeze in them all the time. That completes section 3, and these were the right answers. C, C, false, false, false. If you've got them all right, you have 5 marks. Bernard Manning, any good at maintaining your own motor car?
No, I'd have took the antifreeze out during the summer.
Well,
You know.
seems to me not a bad idea. Keeps the frost out. Are you any good at maintaining your own car, though?
No, I pay for it to be done, you know. I don't know much about cars.
What would happen if you bust a fan belt going down the motorway?
I've got an old silk stocking there. You put it round, you know. A lady's silk stocking, I believe. I've read this in an old handbook. Use an old lady's, not an old lady's silk stocking, but a young lady's silk stocking, and it'll get you to the next service station, you know.
Do you have any such little things stuck away in your motor cars, an old silk stocking, Barbara Manning?
I don't. I panic instantly, run straight for the nearest garage, I'm afraid. They terrify me, engines.
How many marks did you get then?
I got 4 out of 5. I went wrong in the same place.
You're doing better. Sterling, how did you do?
Well, I'd rather have the modern silk stocking, actually, with a girl with it on. I think it's a better idea, and you only use it if necessary. I got 4. I was wrong on the first one, which was something to do with water.
Ah, yes.
I forget exactly what it was now, but the first
Water
one...
in your radiator.
Yes, oh yes,
Water in your
I would
radiator.
have put hot water in, yes.
You would have put hot in?
Yes, I would have put hot water in.
Yeah, you would have caused some trouble there.
Yeah, well, I would run the pump. I would have the engine running first so that it would run round, but I would put hot water in rather than cold, so... But, or buy an
Are you a
air-cooled
good
car.
maintenance man?
No, that's why I never looked after my racing cars. I had enough trouble with other people looking after them. If I'd done it, I don't think I'd have even started, so I thought it was better not to.
So you're pretty hopeless at it, really?
Well, I can get from A to B, but I'd rather somebody else did the work and did it properly, yeah.
Between well. And now, look at the scoreboard, see how they're all doing, and the good drivers have pulled another point further ahead. This time, 65, and the bad drivers are down to 50. And now it's the last chance to score more points as we go on to our last section, driving abroad. 7 questions. Every year, 750,000 of us take our cars abroad, and the number is growing. If you take your car on holiday, you're most likely to cross the channel to one of the French ports. This boat coming into Dieppe is carrying motorists who will soon be on their way to all parts of Europe. Most of them will have a happy holiday, but unfortunately, not every driver who sets out on continental roads gets back unscathed. Question 1. Where do accidents involving British drivers happen most often? A, in Spain, B, on German motorways, C, on Swiss mountain roads, D, near the French coast. 5 seconds. The answer is D, near the French coast. In fact, within 100 miles of the Channel ports. It's in this area that many British drivers come to grief and need help, either at the start of their holiday when they're driving in unfamiliar conditions, or at the end when they've probably travelled long distances, they're tired, and they've not left enough time to catch the boat. Not only has the British driver got to cope with driving on the right-hand side of the road, on holiday his car is often much more heavily loaded than usual, which affects the handling. Question 2. It is safer to load heavy luggage on the roof rack because it distributes the weight more evenly between the axles. True or false? The answer is false. Heavy luggage on the roof raises the centre of gravity and makes the car less stable. The best place to put it is as low as possible, in the boot or the back of the car. Another advantage of this is that luggage inside the car won't affect the speed as much as it does when it's piled up on top. But now it's your turn again. You're the driver of the white car. And having left the ferry, you set off through the narrow foreign streets. Leaving the town for the open road, one of the first problems you're likely to have to face is overtaking. In a right-hand drive car, a passenger has a clearer view of the road than you have. So, for question 3, you should rely on your passenger to tell you when to overtake. True or false? The answer is false. If you do that, this kind of thing can happen. The correct way of doing it is to drop back and leave plenty of space and let your passenger tell you about any oncoming traffic.
There's a lorry, but he's quite a long way away, about half a mile.
Now it's up to you to decide for yourself whether it's safe to overtake. Pull out, check the road, and if it's clear, go. Now you encounter your first French roundabout. Traffic on a roundabout in Britain generally has priority over traffic wishing to enter. The same rule applies in Germany. You're coming onto a roundabout in France now, however, and there's traffic approaching the entrance ahead. So for question 4, you must give way to that traffic. True or false? The answer is true. Unless there are signs to the contrary, traffic entering the roundabout always has priority. This applies to most continental countries, priority on the right. On the open road again, you catch up with a car which has this sign on the back. Question 5. The sign means that this driver is not allowed to exceed 90 kilometers an hour. True or false? The answer is true. The sign means that the car driver only passed his driving test within the last 12 months and is not allowed to exceed 90 kilometers an hour. That's 56 miles an hour. In Incidentally, this speed restriction also applies to visitors who are new drivers. Main roads on the continent carry a lot of heavy traffic, but, as at home, once you get outside the towns, it's worth getting away from the busy main roads and taking the smaller roads to see some of the countryside. You're not likely to meet a great deal of traffic, but even so, unexpected things can happen. You're driving along a French country road, and you pass a crossroads sign. You see that ahead there's a lane on your right. Just as you draw level with the side road, a tractor lumbers out in front of you, and you have to swerve to avoid a collision. Let's look again. The tractor approaches along the lane. You are coming along the bigger road. The tractor doesn't stop at the junction and drives out across you. Question 6. The tractor driver was in the right. True or false? The answer is true. He was within his rights. Unless you see this sign, Passage Protégé, you must give way to traffic on the right, even if you are on the main road. Before some intersections, you may get a sign like this to warn you, but even if you don't, when you see a road on your right ahead, slow down and let any traffic coming out of it have priority. Finally, a question for minibus drivers. Minibus holidays are becoming increasingly popular with families and groups of friends. But if you drive one abroad, you now come under common market rules. Do you know what these rules are? Question 7. If you drive a vehicle with 9 seats or more abroad, you now have to obey 3 of the following 4 rules. Which is the one you don't have to observe? You must A, be aged 21 or over, B, have a clean driving licence, C, keep a log of your driving and rest periods, D, take a break every 4 hours. Which one of these 4 rules does not apply? B is the odd one out. You don't have to have a clean driving licence. A, C and D do apply. Believe it or not, those are only a few of the regulations for minibus drivers, but if they were strictly adhered to, it could lead to some odd situations. You must be 21 or over, and these rules apply from the moment you leave your home in Britain. You must have a driving licence, but it doesn't have to be clean. Keep a log. Every 4 hours, you must take a break, but choose the right spot. Clive Dunn was the dad in the driving seat of our minibus, and 1 point if you put B. And that completes our last section. And if you've got all 7 answers right, your scorecard will look like this. D, false, false, true, 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 B. And now to the final scoreboard of the evening. Well, the good drivers got 21 on that section with a total of 86, and our bad drivers have slumped back, I'm afraid, even further. And 17, they dropped another 4 there. And the individual winner of the night with 31 out of 32 is Lloyd Richards of our good drivers side. But congratulations to you all, particularly congratulations to you, Lloyd Richards. Sitting up in your driving cabin lorry, what makes a good driver in your terms?
Well, I think, especially from a lorry, you've got a good vision, and you need anticipation of what others are going to do. And then with the anticipation, you must carry out what you think is the correct thing to do.
Mrs. Foley, what do you think makes a good driver?
Quick reflexes and good concentration.
Chris Sclater, many people seem to imagine that they are rally drivers going around the ordinary roads of Britain. What would you say to them as a rally driver?
Well, something that tends to slow me down a bit when I get perhaps a little carried away is what would it be like to meet myself coming the other way? That's a thought.
Well, congratulations to you all. And now to our bad drivers. Bernard Manning, a salutary night has this been for you?
No, no, I'm very proud and privileged to share the same score as Stirling Moss. He'll do for me.
Will he? What makes a good driver from your point of view?
A good driver?
Yeah.
Well, consideration for others, you know, and common sense.
Barbara Murray.
Oh, I would have said anticipation again. I would have agreed.
Stirling Moss, you've driven faster than practically any of us here. A lot of people try and emulate you and the Jackie Stewarts and so on of this world. What would you say to them?
Well, I think concentration is the most important thing, certainly in racing, and I think even in road driving it matters an awful lot. If only people will concentrate on what they're doing and show other road users how they're going to do it, in other words, position your car correctly, I think they're two very important things.
Well, thank you all very much indeed. And now a final look at our score. How did you get on at home? If you beat our highest scorer, I shall be surprised, but nevertheless, well done. But don't forget that however successful you are in a test like this, it's what you do on the road that counts. Just before we end, let's change our transport for a moment and take to the air. This is a town in the West Country that some of you will recognise, Ilfracombe. If all the 10,000 people who live here were wiped out at one moment, this would be a national disaster. And yet, in not much more than a year, the same number of people are killed on our roads. That's a national disaster too, but it doesn't make the headlines. Driving, if you do it well, can be safe and enjoyable. If you don't, it can be the most dangerous thing you ever do.